about the next separation process, that is threshing. So what is threshing? So it is the process of separation of grains from stalks. Now normally if you look at a field, let's think of a paddy field. So from where we get the rice grains. So do you directly get rice grains from the plant? No. So when you look at the plants in the paddy field, they look somewhat like this, where you have these stalk-like structures, as you can see here, the stems or stalks, whatever you call them. And then on these stalks, you have these grains which are again enclosed in a covering. So something of this sort is present, and inside this are the rice grains, and we are interested in these rice grains. So when you look at the entire process of cultivating these plants and then getting the rice grains for you, so they involve a lot of steps. So the first step when you when you try to take out the grains is to separate the grains, that is to separate these from the stalks. Now one single stalk can have multiple seeds, as you can see here, just one stalk with so many seeds, right? So this separation is done by threshing. So what do we do to separate these two? Let's see, because manually you just cannot pluck the seeds one by one. So there has to be some process because due to which it will happen a little faster. So the way threshing is done manually is beating the grain using a flail or a threshing floor. Now what's a flail? So it is an agricultural tool which is used for threshing to separate grains from their husks. So if you look at it, these guys, they are holding a long stick kind of thing. So that is nothing but a flail. So with this stick or with this flail, they beat on the stalks. So here you have the stalks and the grains. Now as they beat it, the stalks and the grains, they get separated because they are not very strongly attached to each other. So when they are beaten so hard, so the two tend to get separated. Now often this is done on a threshing floor, as you can see here. I mean, a kind of space which is reserved for doing the process of threshing. So threshing. Now, why do we want to separate the two? Because obviously we are interested in the grains and we do not need the stalks. So this is the first step of separation. Now, here also in this picture, you can see this is the threshing floor. So where it is like covered with the stalks and the grains, and so many of them are manually beating the grain. And because of that, the two get separated. Now, when you look at this entire process, you see it is all manual, it is all like human effort. So you might be thinking that this must be a very tiring process for all of them, because with holding that stick in hand and continuously beating on the floor, so that's definitely a tedious task and time consuming as well. So sometimes threshing is also done with the help of animals, but yes, again that is tiring for animals as well. So this method is where animals are made to walk on the grain on a hard surface. So basically a threshing floor is created where you have the grains and the stalks, and then the animals are asked to walk over them. So that way also it is like equivalent to beating. Sometimes animals are made to walk and sometimes vehicles are run on the grain. So if vehicles are run, in that case there is not much of manual effort or manual labor. So these are some alternative traditional methods of doing threshing manually. However, these days some modern methods have come up where the manual effort has been replaced by machines. So here you have automated machines, and the machines take care of the entire process. So the machine is called a combine, and this machine does harvesting as well as threshing. Harvesting means when you start planting your trees. So it takes some time to give crops. So by the time the crops are ready, so when you need to cut the crop, so that cutting of crops is known as harvesting. So that with these machines, you don't even need to cut the crops. So the machine itself will take care of cutting the crops, as you can see here. So towards one end of the machine, you have a device which will help to cut it. So you see here, as the machine moves from this side to this side all the crops are being cut, but this side it is still there. So as the machine moves, it keeps cutting. So the harvesting is also done, and within the machine itself, threshing is done. That is, the stalks and the grains, they are separated. So in this case, there is no manual effort. The process is also very fast because you are not beating it manually. So it's like a huge machine. You just run the vehicle and the machine keeps doing its own job. So the grains get collected in the grain tank. So there is a separate tank where all the grains get collected, and the unwanted chaff falls off the back of the machine. So you see, from the back side, all the unwanted things like the dry scaly casings or the coverings of seeds or the stalks, they all get thrown out by the end of the machine. So now when you look at this, you feel that yes, this is faster and this seems to be more efficient, because when you see thousands of people, I mean, they are like putting in so much of effort for doing such a thing. So if you can replace that effort of 1,000 people with just one machine, so that seems to be a great thing, right? And that's how this automated machines work. Now, threshing also has its own advantage and disadvantage. So when you talk about the advantage, so if you talk about the automated machines like the combine harvester, so it is definitely faster and effective in doing its job. But when you talk about hand threshing, it is very tiring, and this entire process of threshing is not very suitable to particles of similar sizes and texture, because here in threshing, you see, you separate the grains from the stalks. So the grains and the stalks, they are very much different from each other. But if I tell you that that you have to separate two particles which look almost similar, so how would you separate? So that cannot be done with threshing, because if you have, say, grains, and if you have small husks or small stones or small leaf-like structures, so in that case, even if you beat it, I do not think that will serve the purpose of separation. So threshing is suitable only for the separation of stalks and the grains, which are like very much dissimilar to each other. Next process that we will talk about is winnowing. So in winnowing, we will see that we are able to separate particles which are of similar sizes, but they have difference in their density. That is, one is heavier and the other one is lighter. So when you have two types of components which may be size wise and texture wise, they might appear to be little similar, but weight wise, one is heavy, the other one is light. So these kind of materials can be very well separated by winnowing. So let's think of the example of sand. So let's say you have sand, and within that sand, so sand particles, I'm sure you know that how big the sand particles are, and let's say within that sand you have some dry leaves, powdered dry leaves or crushed dry leaves, which is mixed with this sand. So if I ask you to separate the sand and the powdered dry leaves, how will you separate? Because size wise both of them are similar. Now hand picking is not possible because they are like very tiny things. You just cannot keep picking them all. So that's not the right option. The second option, that is threshing, that will also not work, because even if you beat them, like nothing will happen. So basically in that case also they will not get separated. But when you compare the two, that is the sand particles on one hand, so that is one component of this mixture, and the other component is the dry powdered leaves. So when you compare these two, you would see that the sand particles are heavier and these dry leaves are definitely lighter. So this is something where the two differ. So one is heavy, the other one is light. So this is where winnowing helps. So let's see what do we do in winnowing. So here we try to separate the heavy and the light particles with the help of wind. So presence of wind is a must for winnowing to happen. So let's see how we do this. So a place where we can commonly use winnowing is to separate the grains from the husks. So I was talking in the previous slide, right? So you have stalks and on that stalks you have multiple grains, but the grains, they have their covering. So this is how the covering of the grains look like. Now if you compare the size of the grain and the covering of their grains, obviously size wise they are almost similar, but when you look at their weight, you will see that the grains are a lot heavier and these husks are a lot lighter. So these are called these dry coverings of seeds. This is also known as chaff. So this is called chaff. So winnowing is very commonly used to separate chaff from the grains. So these are the grains and we are interested in these grains. So separation of grain seeds from chaff, there we need winnowing because size wise they are similar, but one is heavier and the other one is lighter. So let's see how do we make use of wind to separate the grain seeds from chaff. So let's have a look. So this is how the process of winnowing happens. This is also a manual process where people take a container, and in that container, like this, a plate kind of a thing, where they put the mixture of the grain seeds and the chaff. And then what they do, they just move it like this, as you can see in the picture. So they move it like this, and what happens is, as the wind blows, now the chaff is lighter. So this is the chaff. So the chaff being lighter, it gets carried away by the wind. Now anything which is light will get very easily blown away with the wind. So if you leave a piece of paper and you switch on the fan inside your room, what happens? That paper tends to fly because the paper is very light. But if you keep your mobile phone and switch on the fan, will your mobile phone fly? No, because it is heavier. So similarly in this case also, the chaff is very light. It is just the outer covering. Correct? So it doesn't have any weight. So as the wind blows, so the chaff get carried away with the wind. But what happens to the grains? Now the grains being heavier, they fall back. So here you see the grains. So these are the grains. Now as a result, what happens? All the grains get collected in this area and all the chaff get collected in a separate area. So that's how you are able to separate the two. So this is also a manual process. However, I mean, you do not have machines. So yeah, it is a process where human effort is needed. It is a time consuming process, but then it is a very effective process to separate particles where one particle is heavier and the other particle is lighter. So this is very, very important. So again, in this case also, if you want to reduce the human labor, in that case this can also be substituted with the combine harvester machine. So combine harvester is a multifunctional automated machine. So it does harvesting, it does threshing, it can actually separate the grains from the chaff as well. So it separates the grains from the stalks, it also separates the grain seeds from the chaff. So all these things can be done within that combine harvester machine. So if you want to overcome this manual effort, so you can make use of combine harvester. Right, so this is how we do winnowing. So with this, I think you would have got an idea that we have learned about three processes so far. First one was hand picking, which is only suitable when you have bigger particles to be separated and when you have less number of particles to be separated. The second process was threshing, which is exclusively used to separate grains from the stalks, which are like very much dissimilar in their structure, appearance, size, etc. The third process is winnowing, which is used to separate particles which are like one of them is heavier, the other one is lighter. So based on their weight, it decides whether one will get carried away with the wind and the other one being heavier will fall back. So that's the process of winnowing. So you see, every process has a certain criteria. So every process fits in a certain situation. So and that is why you have so many separation techniques. So depending upon the situation, you can make use of that specific separation technique. Now, one interesting question that might come to your mind that, okay, we have been talking about separating the grains from the stalks, separating the grains from the chaff. Now, why do we want to separate the grains from all of these? Now, if we can eat grains, why can't we eat the chaff? Why can't we eat the stalks? Now, the simple reason is that grains, the rice which we eat, that is digestible by human beings. But when you talk about the chaff, that is these dry coverings of the seeds, they are indigestible by humans, and that is the reason they need to be removed. So even if you eat it, it will not get digested by your body, and if it is not digested by your body, it is of no use to your body, because it is not going to provide any energy to your body. Because why do we eat food? Because food gives us energy. So that energy will come out of your food only when the food is properly digested inside your body. But chaff is indigestible by human beings. So chaff is indigestible by humans, and that is the reason we remove chaff from the grain seeds. I mean, we separate chaff and grain seeds. Let's talk about the fourth process, which is sieving. So what is sieving? Now, when we talk about sieving, it is like separating particles of different sizes from a mixture. So here it doesn't matter whether a particle is heavy or a particle is light, but if the size of the particle is like considerably different, in that case we can make use of sieving. Now the word sieving is derived from sieve. Now do you know what is sieve? A sieve looks somewhat like this, a net-like structure where you have tiny pores. Now you have steel sieves, you have sieves made of plastic, so there are many different types of sieves that are available. So but the normal concept of sieves are that they have tiny pores, and when you have so these tiny pores will allow certain particles and they will not allow certain particles. For example, let's look at this sieve. So looking at this sieve, you see this is the size of the opening. So if you have a particle which is as small as this, so do you think that it can pass through these openings? Yes, it can. But if you have a particle which is as big as this much size, so do you think that such a big particle will be able to pass through these small pores? No, it can't. So that is the main concept behind the process of sieving. So it has a sieve-like structure, that is a net-like structure, or you can say that it has pores, and these pores will allow only particles of certain sizes to pass through it. The other particles will not be allowed. So these tiny pores allow tiny particles to pass, and slightly bigger particles are blocked. So let us look at some other sieves. So this is another sieve which is commonly used in our household to clean flour, or to clean wheat. So all those things are done using this. In fact, this is also a sieve. So there are different types of sieves. Some are plastic, some are made up of steel. So they are all of different types. So let us look at some examples of sieving. Where do we use sieving? So one very common example is to remove impurities from wheat or flour, because we make use of this flour. So normally when you prepare anything, maybe whether you bake a cake, or you prepare chapatis, or you prepare parathas, so wherever you make use of flour or wheat, the first thing that you do is to remove impurities, because a lot of times these flour might contain tiny worms, or it might contain tiny pebbles, so it is very difficult to hand pick them. So that is why they are the sieve is used, so that it only allows the tiny particles of the flour to pass through it, and it doesn't allow the impurities. So what will happen? The impurities will remain here, and the flour and the clean flour will be here. So that's how sieving is helpful to remove impurities. It is also used in pharmaceutical industry to ensure the right quality, because in the pharmaceutical industry a lot of medicines are being prepared. Now during the process of preparing or manufacturing medicines, it is very important that impurities are not present at any point, because these medicines are like consumed by human beings to treat diseases. So if they contain impurities, they can be deadly for living organisms. So that is why it is very important to ensure that there are no impurities. So throughout the process of production or manufacture of medicines, it is always ensured that impurities are removed, and for these removal of impurities, in a lot of places the process of sieving is utilized. So that way sieving is like it's quite beneficial. Now sieving also has its own advantages and disadvantages. So if you talk about the advantage, it is effective to separate tiny particles. For example, when you talk about flour, so removing impurities from flour could be a tedious job if it comes to doing it manually, because I mean, the particles are so tiny that it is very difficult to see if some undesirable component is present there. But when it comes to the disadvantages of sieving, it is not very effective for particles of similar size. So now, since here it distinguishes the two particles only based upon their size. So if both the particles, now let's say if flour contains an impurity which is exactly as the size of the particle of the flour, so in that case the sieve will not be of any use, because it will allow that particle to pass through it. So in that case sieving will not help. So that is why it is not effective for particles of similar size. So if particles are of similar size, then again you will have to find out some other technique. Now if two particles are of similar size but one is heavy, the other one is light, then you can make use of winnowing. If two particles are of different sizes, even if slightly different sizes, you can make use of sieving. So let's see what do we do when two particles are of similar size, but at the same time, I mean, there is not very much distinction between their densities or weight. So we will talk about